Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Master Your Mindset podcast. Today, I have a special guest who I'm about to introduce you to. So, we have Emily. Emily is a chartered accountant, a BAS agent, and currently undertaking her graduate diploma of financial planning. Emily is also helps her clients with their money mindset, including blocks and limitations that are stopping them from reaching their fullest potential. Emily, welcome to the Master Your Mindset podcast, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessie. So excited when you jumped into my DMs and asked if you or if I was interested in recording a podcast with you. So I'm so excited to have this conversation today.
Amazing. And well, I've not ever had someone like in the space of being an accountant or anything like that. And to be honest, I don't know too much about that myself. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. So I just gave everyone a little bit of a description of what it is that you do, but I would love for you to explain a little bit further for those that don't quite understand exactly what it is you do. And also just to get to know you a little bit more, who you are, and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name is Emily. I live in Perth, Australia. I have been working in accounting for nearly 6 years. So I went to uni pretty much straight out of high school. I picked accounting because I knew that I would get a job out of it. Like there are a lot of job opportunities in like the financial space. So I did enjoy like numbers and problem solving in school. So I knew that I would like somewhat enjoy it, but it was more like I picked it because I knew that there would be job opportunities. It was more of like a convenient study decision, if that makes sense. So I did my Bachelor of Commerce and I majored in accounting and accounting technologies. And then after I finished that, I got my first full-time job in an accounting firm when I was 20 years old. So I was quite young. And it was like a lot at first. Like,
Sorry, hang on. I think we're lagging. I don't know if this is lagging on your side. Is this lagging on your side? Zoom.
Thanks so much, Jessie. So my name's Emily. I live in Perth, Australia. And I am, yeah, as Jessie said, I'm a chartered accountant, a BAS agent, and I'm currently doing my studies to achieve my diploma of financial planning. So after high school, straight away went into studying a uni degree. I picked accounting because it was pretty much to do with the fact that I knew that I'd get a job like straight away out of study because there are a lot of career opportunities in the finance space in just Australia in general. And I did enjoy numbers and like problem solving at school. So I knew that I would somewhat enjoy the degree, but it was more of like a convenient career choice because I knew that I would leave uni with like plenty of job opportunities. So after I finished my degree, I was about 20 and I got my first full-time job in a accounting firm. So a 9 to 5 job. And it was very confronting at first. Like I just remember the first few months I was so fatigued and tired, like working full time, but slowly got into like the groove and was actually really enjoying it and really enjoying the challenge. And I spent my first year in accounting working in the audit division. So essentially, auditing is checking financial statements of public listed companies and ensuring that the information is like accurate and complete. And then like it would be on to then be lodged on the ASX. So it wasn't the best because clients don't typically love auditors because they feel like that they're going through all of their figures and like it's kind of like the police of accounting. And I'm a people person, so I didn't really like that clients when I was coming to the offices, they were like, oh, the auditors are here. We don't want to deal with them. I just got a very negative attitude from that department. So I ended up moving over to the business advisory and tax division. And so I essentially changed over to that area and I've been working with businesses for 5 years. And I really, really enjoyed working in business advisory. Essentially, like business advisory is is helping clients with their tax returns, doing tax planning, assisting with like business structure advice, like general day-to-day business advice, helping them with like budgeting, forecasting, setting like KPIs, financial goals. Kind of, it's like way more involved in the day-to-day business operations and like building the relationships with the client and helping them grow their businesses and achieving financial goals. And I just thrived off that. Like I loved, yeah, just like not only like helping the client grow their business, but just forming like the deeper relationship with the client and getting to know them like beyond the figures, which is something about me, I guess. Like I love connecting with people. And when I did work in accounting, I soon realized that I wasn't just there to just sit on the computer and like crunch the numbers and just process tax returns. Like I wanted to actually get to know the humans behind the business and like really get in the tools with their business and like discover who they were and why they operated their business and like what goals they want to achieve and how they want to achieve financial freedom. So I worked, yeah, within that division for a bit. I actually changed jobs a couple times. So I've worked within like 3 like firms and businesses over my career. And then I actually got quite unwell with a stomach condition and just realized that I actually wasn't thriving as much as I thought working in a firm. And I realized I had a lot more to offer the industry. And I knew that there were so many businesses out there that actually feared engaging an accountant because accountants have this kind of perception that they're very condescending and not understanding, and they think that they're superior to you. And I saw the gap in the market. I saw there were so many like young entrepreneurs wanting to start businesses and just had no idea how to set things up. They had no idea how to achieve financial goals. And I knew that I could help them. I knew that I could make them feel safe, heard, understood. Like I knew that I could offer a judgment-free space. So paired with that and then paired with my illness, I knew that the corporate space was impacting my illness because of the high pressure, the high stress. I also wasn't really able to like live out my values and like be authentically me because of the mold that I was like forced to fit in. So I actually decided to start my own business. And based on, so my contract at my last job, I actually wasn't allowed to start it on the side. It was in my, like in the details, like if you did start a business on the side, you would have been sacked or fired. So I actually had to leave my 9 to 5 with no clients and like start my business fresh. And it was like a huge edge for me, but I just knew in my heart that I was destined for more in this life. And I was like, not, yeah, essentially, like as I was saying, I was not achieving my full potential. So I started my business. I also completed my like diploma of chartered accounting as I was working in my like the accounting firms that I was at. So essentially chartered accounting is like a master's. So I did like an extra qualification, just gives you more career opportunities. If you do work in a firm, you can work like internationally, you can be promoted to a director. But yeah, so that's what a chartered accountant means. And then I also went on to obtain my BAS license. So for anyone that's living in Australia, you would have and you have a business, you would have potentially heard what a BAS is. So it's essentially I can lodge GST and payroll and super on your behalf. So I've got that license and then also undertaking my diploma in financial planning. So I just also realized the gap in the market with young entrepreneurs, even just individuals that don't have businesses that want to invest in shares. They want to put money in super, but they have no idea how. They don't understand the tax benefits. They don't understand how to grow their wealth, and they want to be financially free and set themselves up for the future, but they just don't know how. And essentially, they can't find someone that they can rely on and trust. So I started studying that because I just knew that I had like more power to help people. And essentially, like we have one life, like I want to learn everything that I can whilst I'm here and just help others as much as I can. So yes, that's a long story, but I hope that explains.
Oh wow, that is incredible. And I can really like behind all of those titles, I can really see the work that you've put in and the thought that you've put in behind it to actually get you to the place where you are and exactly why you want to do this, have this title. Like you say, you did that extra part for getting the chartered accountant. I'm trying to use my
Yes.
wording because this is all new to me, all of these titles. So
You're doing
I
well.
think thank you. I think that's really, really cool. I have a couple things. So first, It's so true. Well, for me, I don't know what it is, if it's come from like stories or it's beliefs that I feel definitely myself, not too much, but like I know that I hear other people saying it is like, oh, I need an accountant, but they will put it off. And it's like, why? I actually asked myself, why am I putting this off? Why am I constantly putting this off? I need one. Because I wanted to find that person that I feel like I could trust, that I feel like I could build a connection with. I didn't really want to find someone that's just an accountant that's just going to be there and do the numbers and whatever they need to do from their side, and then just don't feel like I have much. I don't know if it's power or control, but clearly I don't have much understanding of what it is that an accountant does, and that's why I need to hire one. So it's interesting because maybe I feel out of my depth, and I'm like, if I don't build a connection or some trust between the two of us, I don't feel comfortable there. So I think that that's so cool, that you do that, and that you make sure everyone knows, like, I like to build connections, I like to build relationships, because you are someone that I would go to straight away. I would be like, okay, cool, if they're caring about the human behind their client as well, it's a no-brainer for me. That is exactly where I'll go, and that's what I was looking for. So I think that that is really cool, and really really cool to hear, especially from someone that is the accountant, right? Because I don't really have these conversations as much, and I'm not sure if the audience at home have these conversations with the accountants and actually know that they do like to have that connection with their clients. So I think that is really, really cool. First of all, that's what I wanted to say. Second, I've heard this a little bit more recently, and then obviously meeting you. So, for a little bit of context, Emily and I do Sarah Ruby's Empire Masterminds together, and that's sort of how we know each other a little bit more. It has just started, but we meet each other in Sarah's world anyway. So there was a question the other day: what is the difference between a chartered accountant and accountant? And I wanted to bring that in here today because I also would love to know, what is the difference between a chartered accountant and an accountant?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with an accountant. So an accountant essentially is you've gone to university and you've gotten your bachelor's, so your undergraduate qualification. So in Australia, to be an accountant, you need to do 3 years of full-time study. So if you obtain that, you can slap accountant as your like designation. A chartered accountant is a postgraduate qualification. So it's like essentially further study after you've achieved your undergraduate degree. Now, you don't actually have to go and do this extra study if you don't want to. A lot of people do like finish uni and just go get a job, say like working as like an internal accountant at, I don't know, like Coles, for example. Like you can there's so many different accounting jobs, but just say you went and worked there, or like even Coles is like a supermarket in Australia, or even just like essentially any kind of business as an internal accountant. So like you would be doing their bookkeeping, their payroll, reports, management reports, budgets, kind of purely just working on the business. For like a chartered accountant, so my first job out of uni was actually working in an accounting firm. So an accounting firm is different to a company. So I was actually working on multiple clients. So I didn't just work like as an internal accountant for like a supermarket. I had like multiple clients. When I worked in audit, I was auditing multiple ASX listed companies. When I worked in business advisory, I was working on private companies or like private businesses, and even individuals. But because I decided to go get a job at a firm, I had to actually obtain my CA, chartered accountant qualification. It's just kind of like it is essentially mandatory. Otherwise, they don't allow you to work your way up the ladder, which kind of sucks because in accounting, I feel you learn everything on the job anyway. I did learn a lot like in the study. So I had to do essentially it was 2 years of study, but then 3 years of practical experience I have to obtain before I could then apply for my membership with the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Australia and New Zealand. But yeah, essentially the firm I worked at was a chartered accounting firm. So if I wanted to progress and like be promoted to like a senior accountant or a manager or an associate director or a director, I had to obtain that postgraduate slash like master's. Essentially is like a master's qualification to open up my career opportunities. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't have progressed in my job. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
yeah, it does make sense. Um, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And but coming off of that, I'm also thinking about another question because I know my audience is super international and I'm a bit of a nomad myself. I would love to know the way that I found my accountant was on Instagram. And that was so that I could understand that connection and building that trust. But I would love to know for someone who is not from Australia or not from, if they're wanting an accountant from another country, does that work? Or do you kind of have to get someone that knows the rules within your own country?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. And I should also note, chartered accountants are actually, it's like a worldwide recognized thing. So you may have, yeah, probably whoever's listening may have heard of the term before, but you can actually do the studies in South Africa. Like I actually worked with a lot of people in the firm that I was at that actually are chartered accountants from South Africa, even in like the UK, in America, like it's a worldwide thing. So because I actually obtained my CA as well, that allowed me to potentially do secondment in other countries. So because I worked in business advisory and tax, I was very familiar with the Australian tax laws. Um, so just say like a client did come to me from the UK, I'm not qualified in like, I think it's VAT. I think that's their goods and services tax. So I wouldn't really be able to help them with their tax work in that sense. I just say like I wanted to do secondment when I was working at a firm and like decided to work in the tax area, they would like train me up on it. But because I just haven't worked in another country, I don't have the knowledge of their tax system. But in saying that, I'm not just like a tax accountant, like I'm also a management accountant as well. So like I can help with like bookkeeping and stuff because bookkeeping is not really tax related, it's just data entry. I actually did have someone approach me from the UK to assist me with bookkeeping. So like I can do bookkeeping, I can do like budgeting and management reports, but it's just not, I can't kind of do the tax side of things because I obviously am more like my experience is in Australian tax law. Does that make,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm. It's really interesting. It's been a question that I've wondered for such a long time, being such a nomad. Obviously, I'm from New Zealand, but like, yeah, where do I go? Because I have all of these international connections. So it's like, yeah, it's a question that I had for myself, but also I'm sure some other people will have that. The way the world's going is super international, the way that I see it anyway. So I think that would help a lot. So the whole vibe of this podcast is all about mastering your mindset in different ways. And I know that one aspect of your job is you teach on money mindset. So before we get right into that, I would love to understand the pivoting point for why you actually wanted to start teaching about mindset in general and what your journey has looked like with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Jessie. So I think I touched on it a little bit before about my illness. So I have a chronic illness, stomach condition, and I was actually given a very, very dire diagnosis by the doctor after failing all medications. I was told I needed life-changing surgery, and I just didn't want to accept that that was my fate. I thought there had to be another way. I just essentially lost all faith in the medical system, and I just was seeking other answers. I then found went to Instagram, went to the online space and was just like searching like how do I heal myself? Like how do I heal this condition without medication? How do I get my life back? Because I had no quality of life. Like I couldn't even work. I was chronically fatigued. I was so sick. I had lost about 16 kilos. I had no, like pretty much no social life. I was just a shell of a human. I then ended up finding a health coach who had helped people heal the same condition that I had through a plant-based diet. And then I also discovered some mindset coaches online. So I thought like I literally have nothing to lose at this point. Like I either have life-changing surgery or try the holistic way and try heal my body through diet and changing my lifestyle, changing my mindset. So I went hard. I went so hard. Like I'm a very, very determined, stubborn person. And if I want to achieve something, like I will just literally put my head down and like not stop, not listen to what anyone else thinks. So I ended up, yeah, going plant-based and working on my mindset, working through a lot of trauma, working through a lot of limiting beliefs, stories, childhood wounding, just like beliefs that I'd taken on as my own that I didn't have to believe as my own, and just breaking free of like the matrix essentially. And now, a year later, I'm the best that I ever have been. Like, I'm thriving. I'm so healthy. I've started my own business and making more money in my business than I ever did in my full-time accounting job. I've made soul friends. Like, I'm just so happy and like don't even have like a worry in the world. So I just want to make others feel this good too and like empower them with their mind. And also because I have worked in accounting and I have like very strong like beliefs with money, and I feel like I've achieved so much with my, yeah, just my money habits and my savings. I want to help others with that too, because accounting and money comes hand in hand. So I want to like offer the full package.
Oh, that's so incredible. That's like I'm smiling from ear to ear. That's really incredible. And it's also just because before we hit record on this podcast, I also just learned about this. So this is why this is really, really cool. And makes so much sense. You're right. Like accounting, money mindset goes hand in hand. Like you say, why not? Especially when you have that background now in mindset, you know exactly how it feels. The empowerment, that's sort of a similar situation to me, like just having those feelings and getting almost quote unquote addicted to personal development and mindset growth. You just start to feel all these feelings, you're shedding all of these fears that you have, you're letting go of so many things, and you're just becoming into your true authentic self. So I think that that is really, really cool. I love hearing stories about people using the holistic way and the mindset to cure themselves, because the mind has such an incredible power on your entire reality, whether that be, you know, a disease, whether that be anything. Your mind is the controller of that. So when you start to work on your mind, it's it's literally going to help in every way possible. So that's really cool to hear your story with that. So I speak a little bit about money mindset as well, but mainly in terms of the feminine side or the energetics to do with it, which obviously has a massive part, but I don't speak so much about the masculine. And whilst I would love for you to speak today about both because it's everything that you do together, it's all encompassed together. I would love for you to speak a little bit about the common beliefs that you see within your clients around their money mindset, and then go into the things like that you do see, which would include generational wounding.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So a lot of clients recently that I've been chatting with about their money mindset feel as though they can't hold money, or like when as soon as like the money comes into their account, they have to spend it immediately because essentially they're like unworthy or deserving of seeing that figure in their account. And then with that, it comes like the avoidance, the anxious attachment styles. So with the anxious attachment style, you can have like two sides to it. You can either like be so anxious when you see the money that you like spend it because you just don't want it in your account, or then you're so anxious like to have the money that you like never, or you never want to spend it because it's like, if I spend it, I'm never going to get it back. And like, again, like it's the whole unworthiness piece, like undeserving beliefs that potentially like you've taken on from like your parents, or just even other beliefs just in society and things that we hear on TV and like on in podcasts, on the radio, in movies. And it's just like a subconscious thing in your mind that's like coming out in your behaviors. So another thing as well, like I wanted to definitely speak on the generational wounding thing, because money, like even with my parents, like it's so taboo. And even when I was working in like accounting firms, for example, we weren't actually even allowed to discuss our salaries. Like we would get told off, like you don't talk about money, like it's hush hush. I was never really. I remember I used to ask my mom and dad, like, how much money do you earn? Like, how much money do we have? And it was like, oh no, you never ask that question. Like, it's so like it's a secret. Like, it's rude to ask someone how much money they have. So then we've all adopted now in our generation, well, not all of us, but a lot of us have these beliefs now that it's actually like, what's the right word, disrespectful to ask people about money, or it's like a subject that is so like private, but it's like you just never speak about money, like it's just a no, it's a no-go. So so many people have all of these anxieties and avoidance behaviors towards money because of all these beliefs that they've taken on as their own from their parents. And it's so hard to like work through that, especially when like you're surrounded by it all the time. But yeah, essentially, I feel like a lot of it just starts from like having the self-awareness that there is an issue here. And it like can 100% be worked through. Just there just has to be like deeper work done. And a lot of the time as well that I also come across with clients is sometimes these money beliefs and behaviors and habits actually have something to do with something else in their life. And then they're using money as a control or like a self-soothing kind of mechanism, like potentially, I don't know, if their relationship with their partner is like really toxic, so then they use money to buy items to make themselves feel good and better about themselves because they're not receiving that from their partner. So a lot of the work that I do is actually getting to like deeper stuff, because a lot of the time money mindset issues is never to do with like you directly. It's like, or like there's other things coming into play. It's not just like that dollar figure that you see in your account, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's so interesting. I had the exact same thing, and I'm sure almost every single person listening to this podcast episode right now is putting their hand up to that as well, because it's true. I also got that. Why is it such a big thing that it has to be so private? And it's interesting because that is that generational wounding where now you've learned that, and it's also subconscious in your mind. You don't realize, you don't question like why do we have this, why is this belief here, and then you just bring it down to your kids, and then they are adopted with that belief, and then their kids and whatnot. So it's so interesting. I feel, well, with the nature of my job working on these things, I'm trying to stop this even within my own family that I'm going to have. I got that a lot. I got the it's so private, don't tell this person, don't tell that person, don't tell anyone. I'm not actually going to tell you. So sorry, for context, I'm talking about my parents and what they were earning and what they were, the money that we were bringing in and what we were spending our money on and all of that. So I don't know. I just feel like, especially in the coaching industry at this point, I see a lot of things on Instagram where they are saying what they're earning for the year or saying what they earned this month. And for me, it's super normal to me now, whereas that I didn't really think about how not normal it would be to other people still, if this still is in the back of their minds, if they still aren't questioning it. So I think that's a really good one to bring up, because there are so many different and common beliefs out there, but that's one that I haven't really spoken to much. So I really love that you bring that up for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a huge one. Just even just realizing that just because like our parents think that or our grandparents think that doesn't mean that we have to think that. Like,
Mm,
yes, there are families and that we love them, but we can like choose different, we can like create our own beliefs and pass them on to our kids too. Because I know with my kids, I want to be open with money and even like help them with like investing and being very like yeah, like normalize all those things, because money is amazing. Money gives us comfortability, choices, growth, like success. Like it gives us so much. And making it like a private, just it kind of, there's like negative connotations if we aren't talking about it. It's like a low vibrational frequency when we aren't speaking about money, because it's like, no, it's very normal that everyone has money, everyone needs money. We can't like achieve a life without money. So
mm,
I'm just like so passionate about talking about it and normalizing the conversation. Because the other thing, when I was saying like with my salaries, for example, if we didn't talk about, like me and my friends at my job, we used to still speak about it. We wouldn't have known that we were actually being like paid incorrectly. Like sometimes, like I think it was one of my friends, he was actually paid significantly less than someone else when he had more experience. So like the fact that we weren't allowed to talk about money, like we never would have known that if we didn't. So that's just a big tip as well with with that. Like you could learn things that you wouldn't have known if you weren't speaking about it, and like increase your wealth.
yeah, 100%. And I think also you mentioned earlier, like you can choose differently from the beliefs that your parents had or your grandparents had. So I think for a big message today, and that would go with money mindset, but also with anything to do with any belief that you have, just start to question, not your family or anything, but just start to have that self-inquiry and question, like, why do I believe this? Do I want to believe this? Maybe I want to learn a little bit more about this before I form a solid opinion on this. And then I go and teach my kids and teach my friends and family or whoever it might be. Actually start to question and ask why, and then be open to potentially unlearning and relearning, because we can have a belief, but then once we question it, we can actually start to form a solid opinion based on education rather than just hearing and believing. So yeah, be open to potentially unlearning, relearning. Maybe some of the beliefs that you have adopted you do like and you do want to keep, and that is also perfect and fun. It's not to say every single thing that you've learned about money is wrong, not at all, but just being open to questioning and having that self-inquiry for yourself rather than for everyone else.
Yeah, so true.
I would love, you did speak earlier about one attachment style briefly. I would love for you to speak a bit more on attachment styles when it comes to money.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess like the three main ones that I want to like talk about is like a secure attachment style, an anxious attachment style, and an avoidant attachment style. So a secure attachment style essentially is you have a very, very healthy relationship with money. It makes you feel very neutral in your body, like you're not scared to spend bills. You have a very abundant mindset. You believe that you're deserving of money. You regularly, I guess, nurture your relationship with money. So like you budget, like you keep on top of your finances, like you invest money. Essentially, you just love money and you have a very healthy relationship with money, and you're vibrating at a frequency that allows money to flow easily back to you. So that's like a secure attachment style, which I believe I do possess. Being working in accounting and just like setting up good money habits, like I'm very grateful that I do like feel very secure in my relationship with money. The other attachment style is like the anxious attachment style, which like I briefly kind of discussed before, but essentially it can kind of like swing two ways. Money just would make you feel very, very, very anxious and stressed and overwhelmed, and like that really like gut-wrenching sick feeling in your stomach. Even like if you were to just like receive money in your bank account, you would have all of those like distressing feelings like, oh my God, like I can't hold this. Like I'm going to like just spend it on something so I don't see the money in my account because otherwise someone's going to steal it from me. Kind of having those thoughts pop up. And then there's like the other side where you see the money come in your account and then like you don't want to spend it at all. And you just like leave it there and like you don't, I guess, like plan for like, oh, how can I maybe grow my wealth with this? It's just like you just leave the money there and like you like don't want to look at it because seeing the dollar figure there essentially makes you just spiral out of control. So like the anxious attachment style can kind of manifest in two ways. And then the avoidant attachment style is like when you just don't want anything to do with money at all. Like you throw your hands up, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to hear about it, you don't want to do your taxes, you don't want to get an accountant. You just hope that it will like go away, but in reality, it's not ever going to go away. So they're like the three main ones, I guess. And I generally, within terms of anxious and avoidance, I see that actually like quite a few clients, it's like they kind of possess both. Like they're very anxious about money, but then they also like avoid it. So like they may like spend it really quickly because they don't think that they're worthy of it, and they can't hold it. But then it's like they avoid actually working through their blocks and working through like why they're actually doing it. So it's like they have both sides of like the unhealthy relationship with money.
I'm laughing because I can definitely see at some different stages of my life, different parts of each of those, different parts of the avoidance, different parts of, yeah. So, what I would love to say is I love learning about these types of things because for the listeners at home, I know a lot of people tend to and have told me that when they learn something or they are a part of the avoidance attachment style or the anxious attachment style, for example, they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I'm now deemed to be part of this title. What do I do? And they go sort of into the shame cycle or the shaming themselves for being there. But what I would say is that this is such cool awareness. This is such cool awareness to learn sort of some of the attributes or some of the traits that you would have if you were in each attachment style. Understand where you want to be. You now understand what you have to do to get to that place. And for me, I would say I would want to go to the secure attachment style. And yeah, just have that as an awareness tool. I really love looking at pieces of learning like that to become more aware within myself so that I can do better for myself. Because if you don't know, you can't do better, right? So once you learn and understand, you can do so much better for yourself. You can make better decisions based on education and understanding, and you can get yourself to the place that you want to be. So I think that's really cool. So thank you so much for speaking about that. I feel like I had something else that I really wanted to say, but now it has just passed my mind. So I did mention earlier that I speak more to the energetic side and the feminine side of money. So I would love for you to speak to some tips and tricks that you would do based on the action steps that we can take and the work that we can do to get ourselves maybe to that secure or to some sort of financial success feeling or feeling financially free. What are some action steps we can take today or over time to actually get ourselves to a place of feeling financially successful?
Yes, good question. And I really want to talk about the masculine side. And I also quickly just want to chat about what you were saying about the shame piece as well, because what is that feeling of shame actually going to do and like do for you? It's like, no, it's not going to serve you in any way. Like, I think you need to be grateful that you've realized that you have these negative habits and beliefs with money, and actually being empowered that now you can change that and be better and grow and learn from it. So, like, yes, shame is like a very, very common feeling and we all feel it, but just having again that self-awareness that that's not actually going to be serving you in the long run, and choosing the other emotion, choosing the other thought that, wow, at least I know now and I can change this. Like, it's not, it can be more difficult for others, but I just believe, and I know you believe, Jessie, that you can change your beliefs and you can change anything if you really want to. So that's super, super empowering. And now in terms of the masculine side, so what I personally do, and one thing I do preach a lot on my like in my business and on like my Instagram, is budgeting, because budgeting gives you a lot of clarity around where your money is coming from, where your money is going, and it allows you to actually put goals and like steps in place to achieve like a better cash, like monetary position. So, number one thing I would say, firstly, is if you're like so overwhelmed, you never have money in your bank account, you don't know where any of your money's going, you don't know how to save, you don't know how to like grow your wealth, start with a budget. There are heaps of like budgeting resources online. Like, I know Etsy have really good templates, but if you're feeling like overwhelmed with that, like, you can seek advice from an accountant. Like, an accountant can help you prepare a budget, even like a financial advisor. They can help you with all that stuff. But if you want like a free resource, I think the ones on Etsy are paid for, but they're a lot cheaper than like asking an accountant or financial advisor for assistance. But that's like the first thing. You can kind of get like a better picture of where things are going. You can get your head around the figures a bit more. Kind of takes like a bit of like the weight off your shoulders, because when you just have like your bank account and you're just seeing like the money go up and down every day, like you actually have no idea where your money's going. You don't have like a visual view of, okay, like maybe I'm spending too much on food, like I'm buying too much Uber Eats. All you can see is that your bank account's always depleted. So if you have a budget, and I would suggest a monthly budget and reviewing it at the end of every month and going through like, okay, this is how much money I earned this month, and then putting all of your costs. And then you can see like what is out, like where the differences are, where the variances are, where you've actually spent too much money, where potentially you could kind of move things around, if you will. So I would definitely start with that, and that helps a lot. The other thing that I would say is education. So like listening to more like podcasts, even like reading. I know this may sound boring, but like my partner's actually an accountant too. Like we're like interested in the financial review, just like learning more about finance. like She's on the Money podcast is amazing. Like there's heaps of like financial podcasts that make finance fun. Like they're not boring podcasts. It's young people talking about like investing and superannuation and all that. So definitely putting yourself in the situation where you're like listening to financial like topics, because the more that you learn, it will empower you more to want to keep learning. And you kind of get that like addictive feeling when you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm learning about all this stuff about how I can grow my wealth. Like I want to keep learning more, because I mean, who doesn't want to be a millionaire? Like ultimately we all like want a lot of money. Like whoever says that they don't want money, I don't really believe them, because like money gives you choices and opportunity. So like I definitely say education, and then also having good, it depends like if you have a business or you don't have a business, but having good people in your corner that you can always like ask questions to, like so getting like a good accountant or financial advisor, so then you can like ask them questions when you want to know stuff, and ensure that there's someone that make you feel safe. Ensure that there's someone that you're actually connected to and you're energetically aligned to, because there's nothing worse than being scared to actually ask your accountant a question. Like you should not be feeling like that ever. That's not, I don't preach like a relationship like that at all. Like if anything, your relationship with your accountant is one of the most important relationships. Your accountant should somewhat be your friend. So definitely that. And then also, I guess something else may kind of be like masculine, feminine, but kind of the whole affirmations thing is huge. And I did this even like with my illness. I would actually say them out loud to myself, because it was more powerful than writing it. The more that I was actually saying it out loud, the more that my brain actually believed what I was saying was true. And I was subconsciously actually taking steps to better myself. So, like saying like affirmations to yourself in the mirror, looking at yourself in the eye, saying like, I'm wealthy, my business is growing, I'm very financially stable, I am good with my money, like I understand where my money's going, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like saying those affirmations out loud to yourself is just so powerful. So they're kind of my tips.
And there are some really, really good tips. I just because we spoke about the affirmations right now, I want to speak to that quickly. I think that a lot of people put a bad rep on affirmations. Everyone's like, oh, affirmations, there's so much more, so many more things out there that you can do and whatnot. And it's like, are we still speaking about the affirmations? Yes, we're still speaking about the affirmations. Like if that's the stage that you're at, and also it doesn't matter at any stage, you can do affirmations that is going to better you in every way. You can renew your affirmations if you want. If all of a sudden you're wealthy and you're already a millionaire, you can renew your affirmations to do and feel better and be better. Like affirmations is key. I tried affirmations and then I heard a long time ago, but just also in general, not just for money, but also for money. And I heard a lot of people saying all this external noise saying, oh, affirmations conversation, affirmations conversation. And then I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm not cool anymore because I'm doing affirmations, even though no one knows it's to my mirror behind the scenes. But then I was like, whatever, just drown out that external noise, do it. And the places that those beliefs that I created for myself and I was empowered by, that I, made myself, has taken me to like seriously some amazing places and some empowered feelings and some empowered beliefs. And I would say affirmations is something that has really helped me to be the person that I am today, one of the things, but such an important thing. So I really want to highlight the affirmations piece. Actually, I want to highlight all of it, the education. I want to highlight all of it because they're really good tips. When it comes to the budgeting, I'm just going to speak to my personal experience. I know a lot of people put a bad meaning on it. I know, especially when speaking about energetics, or not a bad meaning, but speaking about energetics, they're like budgeting. Oh no, now I'm focusing too much on the where I'm putting my money and why, and like how that can sometimes come into like a lower vibration because people get upset at what they're doing and what they're spending their money on and things. I don't know. Some people just, I have heard and seen in my experience to just think that budgeting isn't maybe fun or the best word to use. So I just like to change that out as like every Sunday I have a money date with myself. and it's so much fun. And
Love
then you
that
can
so
bring
much.
in, yeah, you can bring in like gratitude, like, oh yeah, like, you know, and then there's the awareness piece again of like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm spending too much money on Uber Eats, but it's also like, oh, that's right, like I paid that power bill and I'm freaking grateful for the electricity and the Wi-Fi and all of these things. So you can make it fun and you can make it for you, you know, a way that it's going to work for you. So all of those tips and tricks were really, really good. So thank you so much for that. I
You're
also
very
am just,
welcome.
I'm also going to segue completely, and I want to come back to talking about you. I would love to know, it's a question that I'm going to start asking all of my clients, or not my clients, sorry, my podcast guests. What are your core values in life at the moment?
Amazing question. I've loved all your questions today. So, my core values, number one is health, because I've been so sick and having a really, really clean diet. So, I eat like a plant-based diet, whole foods. Like, I don't even eat like processed foods. Like, I eat fruit, veggies, legumes, grains, like so clean. With health, obviously, like exercise, like my goal is actually to run a half marathon, and to continue to prove the medical system wrong, that you can heal a chronic illness with your mind and with food. So that's my
Love
goal
that.
too. Obviously, like mental health, as well, like journaling, meditation, mindfulness, breath work is huge. Just the whole like health, also sleep, water, everything, good relationships. So health is one of my like huge values. Another one is like trust, communication, loyalty, because I have just been through like some pretty like horrific relationships, with girlfriends and boyfriends, and I've just learned that like if I can't trust you, like what is our relationship essentially? So I also really strive to build trust with my clients too. So trust is huge for me. And then communication. I actually haven't even really mentioned this, but I actually come from an Italian background. So I love to talk and I'm very vocal. And communication is essential. Like me and my partner, every single day, we just check in on each other. Like, how are you going? Like, how are you feeling in the relationship? Even like friendships. It's just so important to communicate, because without communication, again, like, how do you know if there's issues? How do you better yourselves? How do you know, like, you have to strive towards like a different, I don't know, goal or vision that you guys want to achieve? So communication's huge. And then like, yeah, loyalty, I guess, like comes into, I don't know, just always like having each other's backs, even like with my friends. So yeah, they're probably a few other values. And then also just, I feel like, I don't even know what kind of value this is, but just the fact that we only have, yeah, one life. Yeah, again, I don't really know what to name this value, but we only have like one life and we just have to give it our all. And I think maybe my value is like determination, like hardworking. Like I'm a very like hardworking, give it my everything. Like we only have one shot at this. We don't know when our last day is. So I'm just a very like motivated person. And I love surrounding myself with people that are also really ambitious, because I thrive off that energy. So yeah, they're my
Mm,
values.
I love that. It's so funny because the whole time you were speaking about that last one, I think determination is the best way to put it. But I was getting YOLO vibes, but in a very mature way. Not
Yes.
in
So
like an
good.
informed and educated YOLO moment.
Yeah, like don't make decisions that are going to actually be unsafe or like detrimental to you, but it's more like obviously like discernment.
Yes.
Make decisions that are going to continue to better you, but like we literally have this one life. Like we have to give it our best shot, because we don't know what the future holds. Like
Mm.
just try to be your best self every day and try to live out your purpose and your mission, and just be authentically you, because there's only one you in this life, and you have to just live it out, because there's nothing worse than living a life that's inauthentic. It's just an awful feeling.
Yeah, 100%. I love them so much. And the best part about that was you had like really great explanations as to why you have those core values. Some clients, and like this is something that you obviously learn, but some clients that I've had, I'm like, what are your core values? And before they've actually thought about it, they're saying some things, and I'm like, okay, now tell me why. And they're like, oh, I'm not sure. So it's really cool to hear your why behind each of them, because you sound super clear on what it is and why you have them and how they are helping you to live your life. Because I strongly believe that having core values in your life is something that you want to live by so that you can feel ultimate fulfillment. So I think those are all amazing core values, and I can see why they are your core values. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on here, Em. I would love for you to give your social media or tell us where we can find you so that we can get our eyes and our ears on your amazing content and services.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessie. It's been such a good conversation. You can find me on my Instagram. So my Instagram is bizsense.au. So it's bizsense.au. The reason my business is actually called BizSense, I'll give you some context, is because I want to help your business make sense. Like, it's for young entrepreneurs and people that are very confused with accounting, tax, and finance. I want to help it all make sense for them. So
I
that's
love
why my
that.
business is called BizSense. And then my website is www.bizsense.net.au. I do have LinkedIn as well, but I don't really post on there. But I think it's just the same thing, LinkedIn/BizSense. Yeah, so they're my socials and where you can find me.
Amazing. And we'll have them all in the show notes below anyway, so you will definitely be able to find Em. Again, thank you so much for being here. It's been so amazing and such a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessie, and I'm sure we'll be speaking very soon in the future.